Hello and welcome to Chats with Chelsea. Today we are talking to an international nonprofit leader, but most importantly, someone who is literally doing God's work. Chats with Chelsea community, join me in welcoming the founder of the Jude 3 Project to Chats with Chelsea. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me, Chelsea. I'm excited to be here with you.
You know, that excitement runs deep there. What can I say? uh,
I always say I'm excited, and it doesn't show apparently to others.
Well, I'm so glad that you've amped that up. That's a change from 13 years ago when I first met you. But listen, I today we are talking all things Jude 3 project. Tell us, how was the Jude 3 project birth, Lisa?
So the Jude 3 project really came from my own experience in undergrad, taking the New Testament course and struggling through that course and stumbling upon apologetics through the suggestion of my father. Apologetics is a Christian discipline of intellectually engaging um, your faith, knowing what you believe and why. And I really struggled in my New Testament class trying to figure out why I believe what I believe. And apologetics helped me navigate that space. It helped equip me. And I realized that there weren't many African Americans in that space, African American apologists, and I wanted to do something to bridge that gap. And so ended up switching my major from investment finance to religious studies and communications um, at UNF, where I met you, and graduated from there. Subsequently ended up going into banking because I just needed a job after graduation. And then felt the leading of the Lord 2 years after that to go to seminary. Um, and in seminary, the last year of seminary, I started the Jude 3 Project, which is a Christian apologetics organization dedicated to helping Black Christians know what they believe and why.
Helping Black Christians know what they believe and why. I mean, let's drill down into that. Why specifically Black Christians?
Yeah, because I think apologetics generally is um, more in white church spaces. And so most of the focus and the questions surround what white Christians are navigating through. And some of the tools are applicable in Black spaces, but there really weren't any organizations that focused on equipping the Black community in this area. And so I felt like it needed to be something distinct to our community in order to be effective.
And so, what has that journey been like? So, you started the Jude 3 project your last year in seminary. You're now full time with the Jude 3 project. You all just opened up your first international headquarters. You're hosting meeting, already doing filming. But what has that journey been like from your last year of seminary to now?
It's been a long journey. It's been in stages. I didn't necessarily know if it would be a full-time thing or something I did on the side working for another organization and maybe had the G3 project on the side, but it subsequently just grew as through the years where we started just having our first event in Jacksonville in July 12th, not 19, 2012. Um, and no, that was 2014. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2014, because I wasn't. Yeah. So in 2014, we had our first event, and then it grew to other events, and it grew to a podcast, and then it grew to an organization, and then it grew to a HBCU tour. So each year it seemed to grow, and it didn't all grow in finances till later, but it was a long journey of perseverance.
And what made you stick through it?
I stuck through it because I felt called by God to do it. And I think also seeing the impact that it was making on people's lives also was encouraging. It was like a verification, a validation that God would had indeed called me and he was using this work. And in spite of the hardship, the challenges being a woman fundraising or being a woman in an apologetic space where it's dominated by older white men, um, you need that encouragement along the way because you're hearing no's constantly. And so I think that's what kept me going, feeling called and feeling encouraged by the people that were being blessed by the organization.
What was that point in the process where, you feel called to do this?
Mhm.
You were receiving those, the validation, the confirmations along the journey. But when was it clear to Lisa that this would be her full-time journey?
Uh, it was clear to me when I wasn't able to get any other jobs. That's when it was. That was when it was pretty much clear to me. But every other thing I had tried to do, going back into corporate or just doing other things with other organizations, it seemed like the door was always closed. And so I kind of stumbled into it being full time. And it was funny because when I quit my job at Bank of America, I told the Lord I didn't really want to go back to a regular 9 to 5. And so, as like, if I'm going to go off to seminary, I really want after seminary, I never have to go back to a 9 to 5. And so I think it was God honoring what I said I wanted from him. And so even though I said I wanted that, comfort is to go back to what you know because it provides a level of security. But if I was honest, that wasn't really my desire. And so God um, was faithful to what the prayer that I prayed to him before I even went to seminary. So I think those doors closing in my face was God's way of saying that's not what you asked me for. And so I think that's kind of how I got here.
You know, over the years, as you were sharing, you grew, you started, you've done conferences. Tell us a little bit about your new headquarters, and what do you see over the next year, 5 years for the Jude 3 project?
Yeah, we were blessed to move into our new headquarters this year in the midst of a pandemic, which is a testament to God's faithfulness. Because so many people are moving out of spaces. So that was encouraging to just be there. It was a moment of encouragement. It's continuously a moment of encouragement for me. Just thinking about how encouraged I was, even today. It's been a long, long day, and walking into that space helped me remember like
Mm.
this is a gift and a testament to God's faithfulness, and that immediately encouraged me. So I think that is encouraging, and to see the work we're doing, the content we're putting out, is stuff that I always wanted to put out at a higher quality, and being able to do that. So for the next 5 years, I see us being able to do that, being able to go to more historically Black colleges and universities, produce more curriculum, more courses, an online academy, and just really equip the body and be a household name to know like a trusted resource in Christian apologetics. And I think that's where we're headed. I'm excited to see what the Lord does, and I'm always shocked because I didn't expect to be here. So if I didn't expect to be here, I know in my future I'm not going to. I'm going to be like, oh, I didn't expect to be here either. So I'm excited to see how everything plays out.
Look at God. Well, you have many folks who will be watching your continued growth. I'm grateful for your obedience to God to do what He placed on your heart because, you know, you talked about again the validation, but I also commend you on being willing to step out. I mean, you stepped into a space where when you stepped out, you were the only one. There's now more people who, in the way in which you did it, there's now more people, but you've really blazed the trail for other Black Christians, but most importantly, Black women to stand up and feel that they can confidently and publicly defend the faith. And so thank you for your obedience. When I think about the Black church, I mean there's so much. I mean there are probably hundreds of podcasts on your website. You have curriculum, you have a book, but when you think about, the most asked question or the most asked topic in regards to apologetics in the Black church, what would that be?
Is Christianity a white man's religion? Is the
And what
probably the most pressing
asked
question.
question? And so what would be what's your elevator speech on that, if you can even give one? I mean, it's a topic.
Yeah. I first try to connect with why one would think that is, and usually it's because of the cultural climate. It's because Christianity was used as a tool of oppression during slavery, and people use passages like "slave submit to your masters" to further oppress people. But I like to push people back further in history to talk about the early African church fathers to know that, as Thomas Oden said, Africa really shaped the Christian mind, and so the term Trinity was coined from an African Tertullian, and there were other African church fathers like Augustine, Athanasius, and Clement and Origen that helped shape Christian doctrine that we still hold on to, the hypostatic union, God being 100% God and 100% man, the Trinity, as I mentioned, defending the authority of Scripture, defending um, so many things in Christian faith. And so that started in Africa, not Europe. And so it's like, how can it be a white man's religion when it was in Africa thriving before it was in Europe? And so that's kind of how I like to engage as a starter. I mean, there's so many different ways in which the conversation may flow from that, but I think that's one of the helpful things to point people to when navigating that question.
Well, there's still a lot for me to learn. There were some really big words that you used, and there's some names I never heard of. But you know what? Thank God for the Jude 3 project and for the website and all the resources. So tell the Chats with Chelsea community how they can learn more about the Jude 3 project and how they can get involved.
Yeah, you can go to jude3project.org. One of the ways you can get involved is by taking our online courses, and by starting a small group and going through the curriculum through Eyes of Color. And all of those links are available at jude3project.org. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Those social media handles are also on the website. And you can follow me at Lisa V Fields on all social media as well.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming to Chats with Chelsea today to share more about the Jude 3 project, your journey. But again, I commend you for your obedience. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
To the Chats with Chelsea community, be sure you go check out the Jude 3 project. Learn more. Even if you think you know how to defend your faith, you can always sharpen your skills, your knowledge, learn something new so that you really can defend your faith. And be sure to go check out the Life with Chelsea boutique. The sweatshirts are now available and they are perfect for the cold weather. Wishing you all a great week. Thank you so much.